In today's AUC People, I'm delighted to be joined by Nomfundo Moletsane, who is known to many of you and has been part of this community for many years now. So welcome, Nomfundo. Great to have you with us.
Thank you for having me.
So Nomfundo, for those who don't know you well, just tell us a little bit about what you're doing right now. You've been working for a while in elderly care, I understand. Tell us a bit about that.
Yes, so currently I am working for a retirement village in Bergfleet. I am a duty manager, so I mostly do the admin stuff. So it's quite recently. I started last year or the year before, but it was before COVID. And that's what I've been doing.
And the place where you work, how many residents are there? And
at the moment, we have 151 residents. No frail care centre. It's basically an independent living lifestyle village. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I know there's quite a story as to how you got to be there.
Yes,
so let's go back a little bit and tell us, where you were born and something about your family and your background.
Okay. I was born in Cape Town, born and raised in Cape Town. I am the last born of 5.
Wow.
At the moment, there's only 4 of us. My sister passed away a couple of years back. So it's just the 4 of us, 3 older brothers. So I'm the baby.
Baby girl.
The baby girl with the very protective brothers.
And the brothers, do they also stay in Cape Town?
Only one stays in Cape Town, Martin, and then the other 2 are up in Joburg, Gauteng.
Okay. And your parents? I know your mum, Anna, is known to many of us, but tell us a little bit more about them.
My mom, she grew up in the Free State, and then she came down to Cape Town many moons ago and for work, and she's been here for some time. She met my father while she was here in Cape Town, and that's how I came about. But yeah, she's the firstborn of 7.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. It's originally from the Free State and she's now back in the Free State.
Yes, she's retired and moved back to the Free State.
Right. And your father,
Father, he passed away back in 2005.
Okay.
Yes, so he was a caretaker at the flat where we stayed at.
Right.
But he passed away, yeah.
Okay. Wow, okay. And so you grew up in Cape Town. Which part of Cape Town were you living in?
Rondebosch.
Okay, so...
Rondebosch, yeah. I grew up in Rondebosch, yeah.
And still living in Rondebosch?
And I'm still living in Rondebosch. I love Rondebosch, yeah.
Okay, great. So where did you go to school?
Preschool, I went to Batswood in Wynberg, and then primary school, I went to an all-girls primary school in Rondebosch, and then high school, I went to an all-girls high school in Newlands.
So all girls at school, all boys at home.
Yes. Yeah.
And then tell us about your school years. I mean, were they happy years?
Yeah, they were happy years. With primary school, I struggled a bit to fit in because generally in class I'll be the only black girl, or there will be maybe 2 of us, maximum 3 of us. But, primary school I struggled to fit in a bit. But then when I got to high school, there was a big difference because it was a lot of black girls. So that was different, but I got used to that. But high school, I went to Sansusi Girls, so there was a bit of drama there. I'm sure you've read in the newspapers and seen in the news. But yeah, high school got a bit better. High school, I found my way. I started to learn myself and understand myself, and yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit more about that, being one of only 2 black girls in an all-white class? I mean, how did that play out for you? I mean, how did that feel?
In my junior years of primary school, it was okay because I didn't quite understand or see black, or I didn't see color. Well, I did see color, but it wasn't like racial. It only got when my senior years of primary school did I notice things. I noticed how other girls treated me, and I started picking up on just small little things. They weren't racist or anything, but it was just small little things that I picked up that they would say to me and they wouldn't say to other girls, or they would point out, or those kind of things. And that's when I noticed that I'm quite different. I'm very different from these other girls. Also financially, I was very different. I was like not poor, but like I was a bit on the poor side, and these girls were a little bit on the, do I say wealthy side, but well-off side. And also that as well played a role as well. Yeah, but yeah.
And do you think actually that gave you more confidence as things went on, because you learned to help hold your own in that kind of environment?
Oh yes. And I think that also is what spurred me on to do well, to try and achieve my dreams, so that I can help my family out as well, so that my mom, when she retires, she can take a break and I can be like, don't worry, I've got you. Yeah.
And your brothers, were they also in predominantly white schools?
No. They went to school in Bloemfontein, so they went to predominantly black schools.
Oh, okay. So that's interesting. So you were in Cape Town, and how come they were in Bloemfontein? Were they in boarding schools? Or?
Well, my siblings were born in Bloemfontein. I'm the only one born here in Cape Town. They were born up in Bloem. So my mom, when she was still up in Bloem, she stayed with them, and when they were old enough, my grandmother raised them, and then she came down to Cape Town. Yeah.
Oh, so actually here in Cape Town, it was just you and your mum?
Yeah, me and my mom and my dad, and then my dad then passed away. Yes, and then eventually my brother moved down after my father passed away. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So was it in a sense you were growing up as an only child?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And so how was that? I mean,
a lot of people thought that I was spoiled, but I was just spoiled in love. Really, I got a lot of attention, got a lot of love. So, so when my father passed away, it was because I was daddy's little girl, so I was heartbroken. I was crushed, but.
And how old were you when he passed away?
2005, I was in grade 5, so that's what, 11?
11, something like that. So,
somewhere there, yeah.
So you'd had time as a child to get to know him and get close to him, but then...
Yes, yeah.
And how did your mum manage with that as well?
Yeah, it was tough for her as well, and... she tried to be strong for me as well, because, as a parent, you don't want to cry in front of your kids. You want to be strong for your kids, and... She tried.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it must have brought you and your mum very close together, from that point.
Honestly, no, not really.
Okay.
I think I harbored a bit of anger, but we only really got close together. Our relationship really built when I got to high school.
Okay.
Yeah. I think when I got to high school, that's when then we started actually having the really good bond, the good bond that we have now. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's interesting. I guess tragedy can affect families in different ways.
Yeah, because it also affected us financially as well.
Yeah.
Because we had 2 incomes and now it was only 1 income. And, that was really tough because she had to now pay for everything. Yeah. So
what was your mum doing for work?
She was a domestic worker.
Right.
Yeah.
So not a big income.
No.
And so the schools that you went to, I mean, they sound they're quite good schools.
Yeah,
I mean, were you sponsored to go there?
So my mom's employers, they sponsored me. So they paid for my school fees and stuff. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And are you still in relationship with those employers?
Sort of.
Okay.
I'll touch base with the one employer, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, and that's I think quite a common story in South Africa, isn't it? With children of domestic workers, they're sponsored to go to better schools, if you like.
Yeah.
Okay. And so then, going through school, did you start to get a sense of what you wanted to do when you left school? Did you, were you someone who was, well, I mean, before I ask that question, were you keen in your studies? Were you a good student? Did you like school?
I liked school, but not the academic stuff. I was quite into sports. So primary school, I did every sport. So every day I had an activity after school. I wasn't really into the academic side because honestly I was lazy, really. I was just lazy.
So what sports did you play?
In primary school, high school.
Oh, both.
Okay, primary school I did netball, I did hockey, tennis, swimming. I did gymnastics. I also did speech and drama.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I got to high school. In high school, I did cross country in primary school. And then when I got to high school, I did tennis and hockey.
Wow.
Yes.
And would you say you had some natural ability at sport?
I don't want to brag, but yeah.
Okay. And you still play any sport?
Oh, no.
Retired?
I retired long time ago.
Okay. But I mean, so you're a bit of a sports lover, but did you manage to do okay in your studies? I mean,
in high school I did. In high school I took my studies seriously in high school. But also my primary school, we did a lot of high school work. So when I went into high school, I already knew the work. So grade 8, I was getting like 90%, 80% because I had done the work already.
Okay.
So yeah, high school, I took my academics pretty seriously.
Did okay?
Did okay, yeah.
And, you know, back to my previous question, were you starting to get a sense of what you wanted to do when you leave school? You know?
In primary school, actually, I kind of had an idea. So originally in primary school, I wanted to become an interior designer.
Okay.
And then that dream was crushed because someone told me that I shouldn't go down that road because there's no money in that road. So I should not become an interior designer.
Sure that's true, actually.
I was a kid, so I was just like, okay, because I really loved interior designing. There was a program in SABC3 called Top Billing.
Okay.
And I used to love watching that. And I'm not quite sure if they still have the magazine, but there was also a magazine as well and stuff. But yeah, so after that, I was just like, okay, cool, no more that. And then I watched a movie called Made in Manhattan with Jennifer Lopez. And I fell in love with what she did as a role. She was a housekeeper at a hotel and then eventually became a hotel manager or something.
Wow.
But then I was just like, I want to do that, yeah.
So you managed to get good enough marks to get into a course related to that. So tell us about that.
Well, in high school, I did consumer studies because I wasn't good. So the subjects that I took in high school is consumer studies, accounting, and physics, because I just wanted to have a bit of everything just in case, you know. So consumer studies in case I want to go into hospitality, accounting just in case I want to go into like business stuff, and then physics is just like it can get you to anything basically. So I remember one time in high school I wanted to become a CA. Yeah, yeah. But then I realized when we went on an outing to Deloitte, the accounting firm, I realized this is not what I wanted to do because I didn't like the idea of being stuck in an office all day, 8 to 5 in an office, and computer screen. I was just like, no. So I was just like, I'm going to take this hospitality seriously. After high school, I took a 2-year gap year just to make sure that this is what I wanted to do.
It's quite a long time.
I took a 2-year gap year. It was supposed to be 1 year, but then so much started happening and I enjoyed the gap year,
So what did you do in your gap years?
Gap year, I did a couple of things. Well, the reason why another reason why I took the gap year was I got my acceptance letter for varsity for CPD because I applied for hospitality management, but I got it a bit too late, so I couldn't get my finances sorted out. So I was just like, that's fine, I'll take the gap year. But in my gap year, I worked for one of my mom's employers. He owns a construction company, so I did a bit of administration for him, and then I also worked as a sales promoter for a brand selling shower gels and bath stuff. And then after that, I then went and worked for WCED, the Western Cape Education Department, and they placed me at a primary school. So then I worked at a primary school for about a year.
Doing what?
I was just an intern, basically. It was interesting. I really enjoyed it. And after that, I realized I actually do want to become a teacher eventually.
Various careers.
Yeah.
Interior design, CA, teacher.
It's a lot. It's hard to make a decision at such a young age, You haven't experienced life, so you don't know exactly what you want. But Teaching, I really love teaching, but the one thing I
Teaching
found...
little kids?
Little kids, oh no, little kids. I was mainly with the grade 6s.
Okay.
So I realized eventually this is what I wanted to do. So I had a chat with one of the teachers, and he was like, why don't you, study teaching? And I was like, I need to grow up a bit. I look a bit too young. I need to experience life a bit. I think eventually, at first I want to do hospitality, and then maybe in the future go into teaching when I'm too old for hospitality.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really enjoyed teaching. Yeah, so maybe in the future.
But then when the gap year was up,
yes, when the gap year was
you
up,
go to CPUT.
I went to CPUT. So I went to Cape Town Hotel School and I studied hospitality management. I majored in accommodation services. Yeah.
And when you got there, did you get a sense that this is the right choice? Were you happy with it?
Yes, yes, I was very happy. I know my mom wasn't too keen with the gap year, but I explained to her that I'd rather make sure I know what I want to do, because we don't have the money to be wasting on me jumping from course to course, because I don't like it. So she was okay with the gap year. So when I went into hospitality, I knew what I wanted to do. I knew this is what I wanted to do. So yeah, so it felt right, and I was very happy with it. Yeah.
And the course was how long?
3 years. It's a diploma.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And you managed to complete in the regulation time?
Yes.
And is that the hotel school in Mooley Point?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It
Beautiful spot to study.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow. Okay. And so those years there, I mean, as I recall, there was probably fees must fall going on in the middle of that. How did that impact your experience, if at all?
Cape Town Hotel School, where I went to, it was very different to the general CPUT. It felt very high school-like. So we had uniforms, it was very strict, if you don't do your homework, you get into trouble. It was that kind of vibe. Every morning you do register, she takes register, you can't tick for a friend. So when fees must fall happened, it was a bit tricky for us, because we want to support our Cape Town Hotel School students. We want to be part of it, but at the same time, we felt like outsiders. I think when I was staying in Res, did I feel the fees must fall, because Reses were affected, because they would bash into Res and destroy some properties and burn some things. So that's where I felt the fees must fall. But with us at school, they still wanted us to continue going to school during the fees must fall. So, you can recognize us with our uniforms. So as soon as the other CPT students from the other campuses would see us walking to school, it was quite dangerous. It was quite dangerous and violent as well. So it got to a point where we had to stop wearing our uniforms, and then we'd come to school in casual. But even then, they would know when we're going to school, because we have our school bags and stuff. So, at one point, I remember the main campus marched to our Cape Town Hotel School, our campus, because they wanted us to stop coming to school, So yeah, it was quite the time.
But you managed to get your studies funded. Were you a NSFAS student?
Yes. So I remember when I looked at my bill, I was just like, how in the world am I going to pay this? Because it was about 80 something grand.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I've never seen this kind of money before. So, I remember I went to one of the lecturers, because I was just like, I don't know how to do this. How am I going to pay for this? I applied for NSFAS, but I haven't heard anything. And I remember he said to me, don't worry about things that you don't have control over. You have control over your marks. So work on your marks, and then hopefully based on your marks, you can get, funding and stuff. So I did that. I got NSFAS for first year, and then second and third year, I got a bursary. I got a bursary, and so that bursary covered my 2 years after that.
And you said you lived in Res for a period, so moved out of home in Rondebosch.
Yes.
Okay. Where was the Res?
It was in town. Our Res was a bit of a fancy Res. It was It was, what was it, Cape Suites? It's a hotel actually. It's a three-star, two-star hotel.
Wow.
But it was half owned by the Cape Suites group. I'm not quite sure what the group was, and then some of the rooms were owned by CPUT.
Right.
Yeah.
And was that your first experience of living out of home?
Yes.
How was that?
It was so different. So much freedom. I don't have my mom waking me up in the morning saying, "Yo, get up." know. So in the mornings, I'd have to set my alarm because if I don't have an alarm to wake me up, I'm going to miss my classes. So, and then each day I had to cook for myself because it was self-catering. So you have to make sure there's groceries so that you can cook, and then you have to pack your lunchbox so no one's doing that for you. So it was different.
Mind you, did you learn some of those skills in the course as well?
Yes.
Cooking and shopping and preparing in the hospitality industry.
Yeah.
So, okay, you graduated, and then did you manage to then get some work in the hospitality industry?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. After I graduated, it was a bit tricky because I struggled to find a job. And it's not because I wasn't going to the interviews and I wasn't, getting accepted, but money-wise, I remember during our courses, one of our lecturers said that it's okay to have a minimum, So I had a minimum in mind when
So people were offering you jobs, but not very good money.
Yes.
Said not enough.
Not enough. And it wasn't that it was too much. I knew what the basic minimum was for hospitality, and I was in there. But I just needed to make sure that my first salary can cover my rent and transport, so that, because my mom was just waiting for me to graduate, and then she moves back to Bloemfontein and retires. So I needed to make sure that my first salary covers, my first job covers my necessities so that I don't have to call and say, "Mommy, I'm stranded,"
Yeah.
So that's why it took me a while to get a job, but I eventually did get a job and I worked for a 4-star hotel in town, in the waterfront. Yeah.
One and only?
No, not the waterfront, the Sun and Sun waterfront.
Okay.
Yes.
And how did you find it working in the service industry? Because, as you say, I know there's a lot of people who can be very much exploited in that, working for a pittance, maybe people waiting at restaurants who only, get paid tips or very low money. And, I guess given South Africa's history, there can be a, perception that it's black people who are in the servant roles almost, What was your experience of that?
It was a bit of both. I found that because I had a diploma in hospitality, it benefited me. And, so I was able to I had my minimum requirements. So I was able to lay out and say that, no, I'm not happy with this money. I can, because you can do that in an interview. You can say that, this is what I want, this is what I'm looking for. So I feel like if I didn't have that, I wouldn't be able to make those requests or requirements because I didn't have the certificate and the experience to back me up. But because I had the certificate and experience, I could say that, no, I'm not happy with this, or I am happy with this. So I think that benefited me.
In terms of salary, but also in terms of how you're treated by,
yes, that as well.
By management, but also by, clients, customers.
Yes.
What was your experience there?
I remember during one interview, one of the managers said to me, my English, the way I speak, would get me far. And I didn't know I didn't know if that was a compliment or if that was just like a jab, but I was just like, okay. But then with time, I understood what he meant, that, I'm not going to say I have a white accent, but like the way I speak it did sort of help me, or it did benefit me. So, the way I was treated versus how someone with a rather thick African accent was treated because of the way they pronounce words, or, just their accent in general. So it was my accent versus, an African accent. I would get treated better versus a person who's got an African accent. So, so I noticed that. So even with guests, when they checked in with me, they treated me, I had obviously you have the FAKs every now and then, but like in general, I didn't have any problems. Well, not no problems, but minimum problems with the guests. We would have a conversation, would laugh, and they were very comfortable, because I assumed it's part of my accent because they understood and they would then probably make assumptions based on my accent. But yeah.
I mean, your mum being from Free State originally, is her mother tongue Sotho?
Sotho, yeah.
So do you speak Sotho as well?
I do, yeah. I also can speak Xhosa as well because my father was Xhosa, so.
All right.
Yeah.
So what's your mother tongue, if you like?
Mother tongue, it's both.
You speak all of them kind of equally?
Yeah, I do, yeah. I do, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And so working in the hospitality industry, did you enjoy it? Did you think, this is where I belong and wanted to see your future there?
Oh yes. I wanted to be in the board of a group. That was the aim. But the reason why I sort of kind of left the hospitality industry was just management, really. The way I was working, I just found I didn't see myself growing in that business. I found there was a lot of favoritism and and that kind of stuff. So I didn't understand, or I didn't see myself growing. I saw myself staying in the same position for years, and that's not what I want.
Okay, so you then decided to leave.
Yes. Yep.
And is that how you found yourself where you are now?
Yes.
Which is a bit of a change of direction.
It is.
Working in a hotel to
Yeah.
working in an elderly person's residential situation. I mean, how have you found the transition, and are you happy with the move?
At first, it was very strange because it's very different. When you work in hospitality, you deal with different people, but they come and they go. So it's new faces daily, Whereas in the retirement village, it's the same faces every day, and they're old. And if you upset them, they'll be upset with you for a couple of days until they eventually forgive you. So it's different like that because whereas in hospitality in the hotel, if you piss off a guest, you can just send them a bottle of wine and they're checking out, so it's okay. Whereas in the retirement village, you can't do that.
Well, I mean, yes, as you say, and people with various stages of, I guess, dementia and forgetfulness, and lots of time on their hands. I mean, my own recollection from being around elderly persons' complexes is that food is a big deal, and very fussy about that.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
If food's not on time or not quite to their liking, that's a massive issue.
Oh yes. How do you know? Yeah.
And I guess the management staff can bear the brunt of some of that. So you said, is your role a management role or an admin role? I mean,
it's a management role. It's a management role.
So you have to manage some staff.
Yeah.
How many staff do you have to?
It's a small village. There's 12 of us all together in the team. Yeah.
Okay. And is it regular hours or you have to work shifts?
It's a little bit of shifts. It's not like the hotel shifts. So the latest I'll work is like at 9 or 10 o'clock at night.
Right.
But it's. So, but the shifts, we'll only have shifts if we have events. So if we're having like a social dinner for the residents or pub night or bingo, then I'll stay alone a little bit.
Do you have to organise these events?
Some of them we organise, some of them the residents organise.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Wow. So let's talk about some other aspects of life other than work and stuff.
Okay.
So I think you've been part of RUC for a very long time now. I think ever since I can remember. I mean, I came about 15 years ago. I mean, you've grown up in this church almost, am I right in saying?
Yes.
So, I mean, how's that been for you? Tell us a little bit about the early years, again, being, a young person in the Sunday school youth group.
Yeah. I remember Robert was the youth leader.
Yes.
And then Douglas, I remember Douglas, yes. At one time, I remember a lot of us thought this, but we all thought that Douglas was Jesus because of the beard. Yeah, I remember during because the children talk.
Yeah.
Sometimes Robert would dress up as a clown, so he'd have a little nose and stuff, and he'll do some tricks. Um, we had a was it a magician course?
Yes.
Yes, we did that. I remember there was Issa and Caitlin. We would go to these courses on a Saturday, and then we had a clowning course. I can't remember these things what they're called, but that's what we did on a Saturday morning. You come in and they'll teach you how to juggle and do some magic tricks and stuff. And eventually we graduated. We got certificates. Yeah, I've still got my certificate actually. Yeah. Still got my certificate, yeah.
So, I mean, was this an important space for you as a child as well?
Yes.
And made some friends.
Yeah.
Because, I guess school was part of it, where, as you said, you were like almost the only black girl in a white group. But I mean, maybe it felt a little bit similar here at IUC, or?
In the earlier stages, no. It was there was a bit of everything. There was some colours, there was some blacks, there was some whites. So it was quite diverse, the children's group. And then eventually down the line, there was less blacks and yeah.
But did you feel at home here?
I did. Oh yes, no, I did definitely.
Yeah, okay. And you've stayed involved with the church over all these years, I guess in varying ways, but
Yes.
work and study is taking you away sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, do you still see the church community as something you would want to be part of, is an important thing in your life?
Yeah.
I mean, has faith played a role in your life, calling yourself a Christian? I mean, you want to say a little bit more about what that might mean for you?
It's been quite the journey. Confirmation, so my confirmation class was done. I think we took 3 years for our confirmation. Yeah. But in those 3 years, I questioned a lot of things, and I didn't get confirmed because, I still had a lot of questions, and there was, I call myself Christianity, but it's like a mixture of things, So, yeah, so for me, it's still a journey at the moment. It's still a journey, but it's like I said, it's like a mixture of things from other religions that I quite like, and I just mix it all up.
And what were some of the questions about? Can you remember?
I remember one question was question of death, like what happens to us when we die, Do we just die and then we go to heaven or hell and then we just chill there, But then afterward, does it not get crowded up there because you're all chilling up there and then God has to keep making new spirits? Like, how does that work? Or do you get reincarnated and he just recycles us,
I think the problem is none of us know because we haven't died yet, so we're all speculating.
Yes, I remember I was asked that and I asked Dan that and we had a long conversation, but yeah, we just threw ideas and, Yeah, so that was one more question.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Nomfundo, what do you like to do for fun? Who is Nomfundo when you're not studying, you're not working? What is it? What's an ideal week? If you have a weekend off, from work, what would you do? What would
Normally I'll just sleep. But I enjoy walking.
Okay.
I enjoy walking, so I'll try and take a walk. I enjoy the night. I enjoy walking at night, but that's not really the safest thing. But either walking at night or just chilling outside, sitting outside at night. I find the night very peaceful and just calm. And there's just beauty in the night. I mean, there's dangers, but there's beauty as well in it. And that was something that I used to do a lot with my dad. We used to sit outside and just sit quietly and just listen to the quiet and the silence.
Are you into movies or series and all that?
Nope.
Not really?
No, I don't watch series. Movies, yeah, I'll watch movies, but it's not really my thing. I'll read. I love eating, so I like going to restaurants and trying out new foods.
Yeah. Are you a good cook yourself? All these hospitality skills, did it translate into I can produce food?
Yeah, At one of the hotels I used to work at, they wanted me to, they offered me a position in the kitchen, and I was just like, no, thank you. The kitchen can be quite stressful, yeah. So, but yeah, I think I'm a fair cook, yeah.
And is there a special person in your life?
There is. We met back in 2015. I think I was doing first year, and he was at UCT.
What's his name?
His name is Walter.
Walter.
Yeah. A Zim guy, and so we started off friends, and now we're here.
So that's been together a few years now.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And you get to cook for him sometimes.
Yes. He loves my cooking, but at times I want someone else to cook for me.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Cool. And so, Nomfundo, I mean, growing up in Cape Town, you hear many people talk about Cape Town being quite racially segregated still, and you've spoken a little bit about some of that. I mean, as you reflect on it now as a more mature young woman, what's your sense of being someone of colour as a woman in Cape Town? I mean, how do you feel about that? I mean, how's it been for you?
At times I find it difficult. Because everything here in Cape Town is expensive, especially property, And I know if I go to Joburg, I could probably get a piece of property there, but I don't want Joburg. I want to stay here in Cape Town. But, property is expensive, so I'm not quite sure how to break into that market, because I want to buy a piece of property and make, for my family and for future generation, and stuff. But it's difficult because you need the money, but I don't know how to go into it. But it's just it's difficult. I find it difficult.
So what's next for you? I mean, are you someone who plans for the future, or do you sort of just go day by day, just sort of enjoying your job at the moment? But I mean, you've talked about wanting to buy property and maybe have a home of your own. I mean, you're renting at the moment, I assume.
Yes,
so, do you have sort of a sense of what the next few years hold for you?
Yes. I do try and plan. I think you do need to do a bit of planning as an adult. You learn that as you grow, that planning is important. In the next couple of years, I would like, to have my own, property. Maybe I might be married. Children eventually. Children are expensive, so they really are expensive. So because I know a lot of people ask me, because I'm 26 at the moment, so a lot of people ask me kids, and I'm like, no kids, and they find it very surprising, and I'm just like, but do you understand how expensive kids are? And
good times.
Yes, and I think it's okay to take your time with these things, and there's no rush really.
Sure.
There's no rush.
Sure. And just for those who know your mum, how's she doing?
My mom is good. She misses Cape Town. She really misses Cape Town. I know she really misses the food as well. She says the food in Bloemfontein versus the food here in Cape Town is very different. The quality is different. Like something like as simple as KFC. The KFC in Bloemfontein is different to the KFC here.
Well, she's actually in Botshabelo.
In Botshabelo, yes. So it's about a 45-minute drive outside Bloem. Yeah.
But she's retired, and she's staying on her own, or she?
Yes, yeah.
But she has family around.
She has family around, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there any pull to the Free State for you, or Cape Town?
No, Cape Town. Free State, unfortunately, it's a beautiful place, but there's just not enough opportunities and jobs up there. So, if I go up there, I'd probably be a cashier at some store, and I don't want that. I want to grow. I want a place where there are opportunities and the opportunity to grow.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Nomfundo. It's been great to get to know you a bit better and hear more of your story. And we hope we'll see you around here for many more years to come.
Yeah, you will definitely.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.